All right, third in the day. I think this is a new record for me as far as doing the YouTube videos. Um, I was just talking to my good friend Jen Dent. Very, very good friend. Arguably my best friend. But we've been experiencing some coincidences and things lately, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's made me kind of be a little more introspective. This past week has been pretty exciting, as some of you have seen if you've been following me. Like, I got a Pepsi Perfect off of Amazon. There's only 6,500 released, and it was very hard to get one. Most people didn't. I managed to snag one. I got my Star Wars tickets early somehow, and those things are cool and all. But what really gets me, and which really making me think about all this, goes back to Saturday. For those who may have missed it, DMC of Run DMC fame was here in town, and he went to Elite Comics in Overland Park, Kansas, which is my comic book shop, to do a signing of his new graphic novel, DMC #2. Let's flash back a bit. You know, a few years ago when I got out of the Air Force, I've kind of talked about this before, I was in a place where I was angry, I was sad, I was depressed, I was just about everything you can imagine, and I was just missing a big part of me. And I found it again through Ghostbusters. Because I was able to volunteer, I was able to give back to the community, I was able to meet so many new people, and it's been, for lack of better words, just a blessing. Whether we want to believe in a God or not, or whatever you believe, I believe there are blessings out there, things that are good that happen in your life. And this was a very good one. So I've been giving and giving for the past couple of years wherever I can, you know, whether monetarily, whether of my time, maybe just spreading the word, those kind of things. And I've never asked for anything in return, because I don't believe that one should ask for things in return. But at the same time, I do understand that the universe is pretty good about rewarding people. You know, you call it karma, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But the universe has ways of, it's kind of got its own built-in reward system, I guess. So, coming back more towards present times, my friend approached me about doing not only Ghostbusters, but getting a group of my friends, costume friends, together to help out for her church's harvest fair or fest or whatever it's called, whatever they want to call it. And I said, yeah, I'm on board, because when this friend asks for stuff, I usually kind of drop what I'm doing, because they've always been there for me. Fast forward a little bit, well, let me slow down a little bit. I'd committed, I'm ready to do it. It's a Saturday in October, this past Saturday actually. I'm doing it, I'm going to be there, you got it. I'll talk to some of my friends. I can't promise anything, because right now, this time of year, people want stuff for Halloween. People are doing more because it's cooler outside. Ren Fair was still going on, which a lot of my costume friends also do Ren Fair. So there was a lot more people that couldn't possibly do it than could, just the way that things were stacked up. But I will be there. Well, a couple of days later, I find out that I'm no longer wanted at this event. Not me specifically, but Ghostbusters. That's their call to make. I don't agree with it. Again, there's a lot that I do in and for the community, and this was meant to be a community event, and it kind of upset me that I was kind of pushed out of that. They asked if I could wear the panda, and at that point it was kind of like, you know, I almost hate to take my ball and go home, but it was one of those, you approach me as a Ghostbuster, and then you tell me you don't want a Ghostbuster. So not only no, but you're not getting me at all. That was my decision. I wasn't going to deter anyone from going. If anyone else wanted to help, by all means. I just simply wasn't going to be there. Well, that frees up my Saturday. Sure enough, a couple days later, Will over at Elite Comics, he mentions DMC of Run DMC fame will be in store. So now, my Saturday has been freed up to go to this, which is amazing in itself. So immediately I want my Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack signed. I go to the store. There's not a ton of people there. There's a decent line, don't get me wrong, but not quite what I was expecting, much to my relief, because I didn't want to be standing in line for hours on end. But I jump in line, and something pulls me out of that line. I get out of line, I go talk to Will for a little while. We talk about some Ghostbuster posters he's got in, and then I go back and get to the end of the line again. Soon after, a man in a Alabama sweatshirt, the Crimson Tide, which, if you know me, I'm not a fan of. I'm LSU all day. Bama's probably my #1 least liked team in the SEC and probably NCAA as a whole. It should come as no surprise to anyone. But he's got 2 kids with him, a little bit younger than my kids. I'd say they're probably about 7 and 9, somewhere in there. Mine are 9 and 12. Calvin's going to be 10 here in a few more days, but just a little bit younger than my kids. And they were typical kids. They were very high energy. They didn't really know much about who DMC was. They were there because Dad was there. But I'm wearing my Ghostbuster stuff because, again, something told me to wear it. I don't know why, but I needed to wear my Ghostbusters uniform. I left my Proton Pack. Didn't need all that. But I brought the rest of my gadgets and gear. So I'm standing in line, and the kids are obviously kids. So they're asking questions. And they're all over, and Dad's trying to keep them calm and keep them from tearing up books. So I'm talking to them. I'm engaging with them just like I would anywhere else that I'm with kids, and whether it's a community event, whether it's a hospital or whatever. There's a way you can talk to kids and distract kids where they don't even realize you're doing it. So I'm engaging them. We're having conversation. We're talking more and more. I'm letting them see some of my Ghostbusters equipment. They love the PKE meter, for example, because it actually works. Arms move up and down. We get closer to the front of the line, and Dad starts pulling one of these. And I'm like, oh, no, I guess he forgot his wallet, And he goes, oh, man, I forgot my phone at home. He's like, I have no way of getting a picture. And before I could even volunteer, giving him a picture or taking a picture for him, he just asked me flat out. He's like, hey, when we get up there, is there any way you can hang around after you're done and take a picture of us together and text it to me? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. I have no problem doing that. So I get to the front of the line. DMC's talking to someone else. He's signing their stuff. I pull out my Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack out of one of my pockets because I got a million pockets on the flight suit. I pull it out, and the kids are asking again, what is that? And I tell them, well, they were familiar with Ghostbusters, so they knew it's Ghostbusters 2. And I tell them, well, the guy that you're going to be meeting in a minute, he's got a song on this soundtrack. And so they're like, what, really? They're enthused now because now they can correlate who they're about to meet to something that they're associated with. So their excitement level builds up even more. So I get up there. DMC's excited about the soundtrack. He hadn't seen one in a while. He asked me how I had it, how long I'd had it. He even offered to sign it before I could even say, hey, can you sign it? And he signed my book too, because I bought a book from him. I should have been gone after that. I should have walked out of the door and left. But because that man forgot his phone, I'm sticking around to wait for him. So I take a picture of them. I'm hanging out for a little while they talk to DMC and get their stuff signed. And suddenly this young man, about 9 years old, maybe 10 at most, asks if he can hear DMC's verse from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack. And DMC just kind of giving them a little bit of something. I'm not sure where the rhyme was from. May have been a little freestyle, but he kind of rhymed for them real quick, gave him a few little bars, and the kids were excited. But then they asked him, I guess they wanted more, so they asked him about Ghostbusters 2, and they were like, he kind of paused, he sat back, he's like, oh, I don't know, it's been a long time, which it had been, because Ghostbusters 2 came out quite a long time ago. We're talking like 26 years ago. He's like, that's not something I normally perform. And he goes, hey, Ghostbuster, you know it? And he kind of waves me back over. And I played this scenario out in my head. I'd never expected it to come to fruition. I'd made sure I knew the words inside and out. And I kept envisioning him asking me about it, or how well I truly knew. He just kind of quizzed me, because I'm sure people tell him all the time, like, oh, I'm a big fan. But the kid asked him, he calls me back, and I just dived in. I was like, hey, you want to hear it? You want me to do it? So I look at him, he's like, yeah, if you got it, let me hear it. So I just dove in. I remember the time. And I just start going. And I took out the last 2 bars of the verse just because I was kind of gauging the audience, and I know some of them are kind of like, well, it was fun at first, but now I want you to be done. I want to get my stuff signed. So I killed the last 2 bars, but DMC stood up out of his chair, dapped me down, and I still can't believe it happened. My point is, besides being a humble brag, which I'm going to brag about till the day I'm gone, was it took a lot. It took a whole huge series of circumstances to get to that point. Now, you may think it's odd. You may think I'm just kind of overthinking it. Whatever. That's fine. But had I not one day decided to put on that uniform, had I not one day walked through the corridors of Children's Mercy Hospital, had I not one day gotten to know Will at Elite Comics better, the list goes on and on and on. It's more than just coincidence. And yeah, Ricky Bobby's losing his mind right now. I don't know what's going on. But there were so many coincidences that led to that moment. Everything had to fall in place. The universe had to align in such a way that the dog would bark. But I'm not going to get distracted by it. The universe had to line up in such a way that I was able to perform that verse for DMC and instantly travel back to a young little man with horrible red hair. And I love my red hair, but my hair was just horrible. I had double crowns, cowlicks, whole nine. But this little kid named Ronnie, he dreamed of that moment. Maybe not directly with DMC, but he dreamed of one day being able to perform the raps that he practiced and learned over and over and over. And then it came to fruition. So, I'm just saying, the universe has a plan somewhere. Our fates aren't predetermined exactly, but choices we make every day can lead up to them. So, keep that in mind the next time you come to that fork in the road and you don't know if you need to go left or right. Take a breath and think about it for a second. You're going to make the right decision. It may not seem right at the time, and you may not understand it at the time, but that path that you take is going to be the right way for that moment. It's just the way it is. It's taken me a long time to understand it. Like I kind of tell people, it's like, it may not be what you want right now, but it's what's meant to happen in the moment. So even when you have setbacks, because I had a lot of setbacks that week too. I lost some people. There was just, I was really upset. I was sad. I was depressed. I'm finding new things out about my own life and my own health. So, you know, there's an ebb and flow with things. So just keep that in mind with the universe, and keep that in mind with yourself. And one thing that I'm learning to do more than anything is give your damn self a break. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And I'm going to quit rambling now, because I can go forever and a day talking about this, and I think I've provided entirely too much rambling content today, but I've had a lot of been meaning to get off my chest and let you guys know about. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, crunkpanda.com. You can find me on there and find where I'm at online all the time. And thanks for listening. And just remember that the next decision you make, it may not have any real play immediately, but then again, 30 years down the road, maybe you're performing a rap in front of DMC. Who knows? I never really believed it. I dreamed it, but it should have never happened, and it did.